on to the Arab states' new nominations, and we will begin with the site of Erbil Citadel in Iraq. This is draft decision 38.8b.20. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination, but before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor with regards to the Erbil Citadel in Iraq.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual errors letter for this nomination of Erbil, which is to be found on page 62 of document INF 8B4 REB. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balsamo. ICOMOS, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. ICOMOS evaluation can be found at page 79 of Doc INF 8B1 of the English version. Erbil Citadel is a formerly fortified settlement grown on the top of an imposing archaeological tell. Erbil, as a city, is situated in northeastern Iraq in a fertile plain between the greater and lesser Zab rivers, close to the borders with Iran and Turkey. Today is the capital of the autonomous Kurdistan region. The region was in the past the heartland of the Assyrian civilization between the 20th and the 6th century before Christian era, and several mounds dating back to this epoch and tells still survive there. Erbil Mound is suspected to conceal the levels of ancient Arbela, a important religious and political center and one of the capitals of the Neo-Assyrian Empire between the 13th and the 16th century before Christian era. However, only limited excavation and investigation have been carried out until very recently to yield archaeological evidence of this. Erbil lost its centrality after the fall of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, and it only regained some importance as an economic center between the 7th and the 13th century AD. After the conquest of the Ottoman Empire, it became a stronghold at the border of the Ottoman and Persian empires. Erbil Citadel has been nominated on the basis of criteria 3, 4, and 5, for it would be a rare type of urban settlement on top of an ancient mound, for its Ottoman urban structure conditioned by previous layouts, and for the continuity of settlement as an inhabited tell. However, despite the name, the defensive walls of the citadel do not survive. They have been replaced by a continuous curtain of 18th, 19th century houses, when Erbil assisted to a new and latest economic boost which is still lasting. Only a few public buildings survive, largely transformed. The mosque retained its minaret, but in mid-20th century, it lost its multiple dome roof, and the 18th century hammam underwent major work again in the mid-20th century. The Grand Gate, main entrance to the citadel, has been demolished to open a vehicular road in 1950s, and it was reconstructed in the 70s and 80s, and now a project to restate it to its former 19th century appearance is underway. The Ottoman configuration of the citadel was articulated into functional districts, Topkana, Takia, and Sarai, although little specific information has been provided on these aspects in the nomination dossier. And the urban layout and part of the surviving built fabric in fact reflect only this period, 19th and 20th century, and the Ottoman phase. And at this stage, it cannot be linked in an understandable manner to the previous urban configuration. The comparative analysis has posed some problem in that it has not selected the most relevant properties in relation to the set of values proposed for the OU, outstanding universal value. And it has overlooked other properties that could have been considered in this in relation to the proposed outstanding universal value. Condition of integrities also pose concerns in relation to the proposed justification and in relation to the conservation. of the built fabric, the 20th century in transformation, and its functional and social dimensions since in 2006, for safety and security reasons, inhabitants were relocated. The surviving architectural monuments dating back to the second wealthy period of Erbil, that is 17th century AD, it's outside the nominated property. It is in the buffer zone, and archaeological traces remains within the buffer. Are not located clearly, as been mentioned in the dossier, but not clearly located. So we do not know where they are. Comparative analysis has been, in summary, the comparative analysis does not justify at this stage, in ICOMOS' view, to consider this property for the list, and integrity and authenticity has also not been met. And the similar thing can be said about criterion, which have not been demonstrated at this stage. A good part of the citadel built fabric today. So in synthesis, what we can be said that major issues concern how the property has been reflected in the dossier. We might find some issues concerning the management of the property, but these are, are being taken into consideration and, let's say, addressed by the state party. So Erbil Citadel finally can be considered an imposing tell, which continue to give a strong visual impression. But tangible evidence is scarce and insufficiently elaborated to support the proposed justification. Archaeological investigation are still at dawn. The surviving built fabric dates back to this 18th, early 20th century, and its relation with the previous phases have not been demonstrated yet. So the still fragile condition of the surviving fabric and the rationale for the rehabilitation, much tourism-oriented, and the urban pressure affecting the wider setting of the citadel and some proposed ongoing project also raises concern. So with this regard, ICOMOS acknowledged the efforts made by the state party to rehabilitate the property. However, for the reason just explained, ICOMOS recommends that the Erbil Citadel be deferred so as to allow the state party to deepen the research on the urban architectural heritage and its archaeological context. And if such a study suggests that a robust case can be made, then amend the boundaries and, if and where necessary, and formalize through appropriate means the structure and responsibility of the High Commission for Erbil Citadel Rehabilitation. And there are also further recommendations complementary to this for the best conservation and management of the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ICOMOS.